when a narcissist is being too nice to you. Don't be fooled. It's just a trap disguised as kindness. What do you do when a narcissist does something that looks nice, but deep down, you know it's not really about kindness? This is one of those tricky layers of the trauma bond, and it's worth breaking down with a few examples. Say you've been asking them for weeks to help with something, moving a heavy piece of furniture, fixing the car, or finally giving you an important document you've needed. They put you off, got irritated, maybe even snapped at you for asking. Then, out of nowhere, one day it's done. But instead of feeling relief, you're left with this weird aftertaste because they are rude, dismissive, or downright cold about it. Or maybe they do things that look impressive on paper. They're the type who insists on picking up out-of-town guests from the airport, so no one has to take a cab. They never forget to send birthday cards, thank you notes, or wedding gifts. They'll even wake up at 3 a.m. to drive you to the airport. From the outside, it looks thoughtful, but inside the relationship, you know the story feels different. Sometimes it's about routines. They're obsessive about keeping the car serviced, walking the dog on schedule, or staying on top of financial paperwork. Or maybe it's about social appearances. Around family, co-workers, or clients, they know how to behave just right, hitting all the right cultural notes so everyone thinks they're polished, reliable, even generous. And then there are the special occasions. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. You might get the perfectly wrapped gift, the exact dinner reservation, the champagne in the hotel room. On the surface, it looks like love. But underneath, the warmth is missing. There's no real tenderness in it. That's what I mean when I say they're not nice about it. Yes, they do the thing. They may even do it well, but it comes with strings attached. They'll remind you later how much they did for you, use it as leverage, or act irritated the whole time they're helping. They might insist on doing the wrong thing, painting the bathroom when the refrigerator just broke and hundreds of dollars of food are spoiling, then accuse you of being ungrateful for not appreciating their effort. In the end, you're left wondering if the so-called help was even worth it. Sometimes it feels easier to live with the problem, like leaving those delivery boxes piled up in the hallway, than to endure the complaints, attitude, and coldness that come with them doing the favor. And that's the point. Even when they do something useful, it rarely feels like genuine kindness. It's not about you, it's about them. This whole question of intention gets really complicated when you're dealing with a narcissist. You find yourself asking, did they do that because they were genuinely being kind? Are they actually a nice person? Or do they do it just because it served them in some way? And before you know it, your mind is spinning in circles, trying to make sense of it all. At the end of the day, though, you're left with the fact that yes, what they did was useful, maybe even thoughtful on the surface, but it didn't feel kind. And that's where it really messes with your head. Especially if you're in a relationship where genuine support is rare. The moment they finally step in and help with something you couldn't do alone, like moving heavy furniture or getting an important document signed, you can't help but feel overly grateful. Sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it just comes out of you automatically, almost like a reflex. That gratitude can deepen the trauma bond, leaving you even more tangled up emotionally. This is why it's so confusing. We're taught to judge people based on their actions. Behavior is what matters most, right? And narcissists know how to perform. They can put on empathy when there's an audience. They can look considerate and reliable when it benefits them. So when they finally do something you actually need, something useful, maybe even something a little special, it throws you off. You start thinking, well, isn't this the part that counts? But here's the catch. Maybe they did pick your sister up from the airport, but they complained the entire time. Maybe they moved that heavy piece of furniture, but not without snarling, rolling their eyes, or throwing cruel insults your way. Maybe they gave you the exact gift you had hoped for, but wrapped it in accusations about how you're selfish or a gold digger. Yes, they did the thing, but the way they did it left you feeling small. So then you're stuck asking yourself, does it still count? Does the nice act outweigh the nastiness that came with it? That's where so many people in these relationships get stuck. They tell themselves, I can't expect everything. Nobody's perfect. And that's the kind of thinking that keeps people confused, doubting themselves, and staying longer than they should. Because on one hand, you can clearly see the contempt, the gaslighting, the constant criticism. But on the other hand, you can't ignore the fact that the groceries got bought, the dinner got made, the driveway got shoveled, the bills got paid. The practical side of things gets done, even if it's delivered with coldness or cruelty. And that contradiction leaves you not knowing how to process it. It becomes even more confusing when betrayal enters the picture. They may have lied, cheated, broken promises, or destroyed your trust, and you feel completely devastated. But then, out of nowhere, they'll turn around and say, "Hey, let me take the kids for the day so you can focus on your deadline." They'll cook dinner, put the kids to bed, maybe even plan a nice evening or weekend away. And for a moment, you find yourself wondering, does this balance out the betrayal? Is this their way of making it right? Or is it just too little, too late? This is how narcissistic relationships trap people in the gray area. What should be simple, black and white, right and wrong, gets blurred. They keep you questioning, doubting, second-guessing yourself. And every time they do something useful, it clouds your memory of the harm they've caused. That's what makes it so hard to walk away. Another big challenge in these situations is that you don't even know how you're supposed to respond. When the narcissistic person finally does the thing you've been hoping for, or they go out of their way with something that seems thoughtful or even kind, you can feel this rush of relief. And then, without even meaning to, you find yourself going over the top with gratitude. "Oh my gosh, thank you. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you." It's almost reflexive. Why? Because if you don't show enough appreciation, you're accused of being ungrateful. But if you dare to ask for something else, or ask too much, suddenly you're demanding. So when they finally deliver, you feel trapped. You have to act overly grateful just to keep the peace. That right there is one of the cruelest truths of these relationships. You can't win. So people start asking, if someone does nice or useful things but is still manipulative, cold, dismissive, or mean, can it still be narcissism? And the answer is yes. Those harmful patterns, manipulation, invalidation, lack of empathy, are absolutely consistent with narcissism. In fact, the manipulation often hides inside the nice acts. They'll say, "Look at everything I do for you. What more could you possibly want?" And that keeps you silenced. You feel guilty for speaking up, because technically, things are getting done. It gets even harder when the things they do feel personal or special. Maybe they bring you your favorite muffin, cook a meal you love after a hard day, or book a table at your favorite restaurant. But then, they sulk through dinner. They grumble while making the meal. They ruin the moment with cruelty or coldness. What should feel nourishing ends up tasting like poison. This is where the trauma bond gets supercharged. You're caught between two extremes. On one side, the dismissiveness, the anger, the contempt. On the other side, the occasional gift, gesture, or special effort. That back and forth, those inconsistent rewards, keep you hooked, questioning yourself, wondering if maybe you're asking too much by wanting both help and kindness. Maybe you tell yourself it's unrealistic to expect respect or no gaslighting if at the same time the bills are paid or the driveway is shoveled. But here's the hard truth. Asking for basic respect is not asking too much. And when you start asking yourself, what's the middle ground? What do I do? The answer isn't a simple one. It depends on your own tolerances, your boundaries, your reality. More than one thing can be true at the same time. Yes, they may eventually get the thing done after weeks of fighting you on it. Yes, they may even do something special once in a while. And also, yes, they may be manipulative, distant, passive-aggressive, gaslighty, angry, contemptuous, or betraying. The mistake isn't asking the wrong question. Is it enough? Is a mowed lawn, a plowed driveway, a repaired washing machine, or a fancy dinner enough to balance out emotional abuse? That's not the question. The real question is, why are you expected to trade away your peace, dignity, and respect just because some practical tasks get done? The real question you need to be asking yourself isn't, is this enough? It's, Can I see this clearly for what it is? Can I recognize that emotional abuse is never okay, and that painting the bathroom doesn't cancel out being called stupid over the refrigerator? Can I acknowledge that a lot of what's happening in this relationship is not okay, and that I'm not wrong for seeing it that way? Recognizing this doesn't mean you have to pack your bags and leave tomorrow, but it does mean accepting the truth. You don't deserve to be treated with contempt. A new sofa doesn't buy someone 6 months of belittling you. That's not a fair trade, because it isn't a trade at all. And that's where the confusion starts. They do something that looks nice, but the way they do it leaves you feeling small. Maybe they toss a gift at you. You said you wanted this. Sure, you wanted it, but being handed it with anger, coldness, or contempt makes it feel tainted. Process matters. This confusion, they did something nice, but they did it in a mean way, keeps people stuck in a painful, foggy middle ground. And often, it turns inward. You start believing you're the problem, that you're ungrateful, that you're the one ruining things. At the very least, this cycle makes you question yourself constantly, and that's its own kind of prison. Think about the moments. They slam a gift on the table and say, "So, are you happy now? I took you to dinner and ordered the most expensive damn thing on the menu." Or they mutter, "Stop complaining, the driveway's done." Or they shove a file folder at you. "There, why am I still in trouble now?" See how twisted that feels? The thing got done, but in a way that leaves you sick to your stomach. That's why so many survivors end up preferring to just do things themselves. Because the help doesn't actually feel like help. It feels like another form of punishment. That's the cruelest part. The nice gestures stop feeling nice. They feel loaded, heavy, icky, and before long, you're drowning in guilt, confusion, and self-doubt. Here's the truth. Healing begins when you can separate this out. When you stop letting the good deed blur together with the abuse. Behavior is layered. It's not just the task or the gift. It's the intention, the tone, the words, the respect, or lack of it, that surrounds it. Because at the end of the day, something getting done does not entitle someone to dehumanize you.